All right, once we have our profile set up on 411fit.com, you'll be guided to set up your health goals next. So, even if your current focus is weight management rather than weight loss, choose the goal that aligns with your plan so that your dashboard and your feedback are tailored to you. First section I'm going to go to as we explore the dashboard is your first, you actually can see your nutrition summary, your exercise logs, and your grade for the day, which will appear once you start entering some data. It's a real-time snapshot how you're doing based on your entries. And while I don't necessarily care for the idea of getting a grade, what I do like is this section that shares with you why you're getting that grade. So you will get some feedback based on your goals, and perhaps you're getting too much sodium. So your dashboard will tell you some specifics on how to improve your nutrition. All right, so once we go to profile, I'm going to go to about me just to share this section. And this is what we set up when we actually entered this information. I have some, I've gone actually to a previous account because I have a previous account where I had logged some nutrition and I want you to see those foods. But then we're going to go to, I mean, if you like an avatar, you can certainly upload that. My metrics. This is a handy little section to track things like measurements, which are super important, especially as we're handling midlife nutrition. The scale doesn't always tell the full story. And some other things that I like about this is if you're tracking things like cholesterol, you can track those here as well. I have a number of these turned off. I do have my circumference measurements available to me here. And again, it's one nice seamless place where you can have everything. My goals is the important one here because we want to set our daily nutrition goals. And I've gone ahead and entered some information here. You can use a calculator within 411fit.com to calculate your calories per day. Again, I always prefer for you to have a snapshot of what you've been eating because if you then take that 7 day average and subtract about 350 calories per day, that's a more relevant way to get to this goal. But the calculator is not bad, especially if you know you've been overeating. Now, if you've been under eating, that's a completely different situation. You should probably reach out to me in that case because our goal first would be to increase your calories so that your body is willing to lose weight. So we may need to handle some reverse nutrition there first. But let's say that we've been eating in a calorie surplus, we've been gaining a little weight, or maybe we've been maintaining. But once we have our maintenance number, then we subtract 350 calories from that and we get 1757 calories per day. And if you left click here, you can change that number. So your split will allow you to enter the percentages, but not the grams. So if you save your changes, you can show the grams. That's how it'll translate. But in order to have different grams to appear, you actually need to change the percentages. So what I like to see, or what I like to use for many clients in midlife is to start with around 30% fat, uh, 40% carbs, and 30% protein. That's a macro split that is a decent starting point. If you are super confident that your body doesn't handle starchy carbohydrates well, then perhaps start with 35% carb, 35% protein, and 30% fat. It really is going to depend on a number of factors. But if your first order of business is to say, okay, I have this nutrition baseline, I just want to establish some consistency. 40, 30, 30 is not a bad place to start. And just do note, I usually speak in carbs, protein, fats when I'm giving these percentages, but this is listed in fats, carbs, protein. So you want to make sure that the right number corresponds to the right uh, macronutrient here. and save those changes. Unless you've been diagnosed with a cardiovascular condition or you have a healthcare provider who's told you otherwise, this is set by default to 2,300 milligrams per day. I think that's a reasonable number. My hydration, I don't recommend a gallon of water for everyone. For me personally, I do drink a gallon a day. My body just feels better on that. And days with exercise, you can include these on or off. You don't have to. I'll summarize. I am doing 3 days a week of strength training right now. They are very heavy sessions. They are 100 minutes per session. So that's why that number is so high. My cardio, honestly, is really more steps at this point, but I do get on the treadmill and I walk just 30 minutes a day, 3 times per week. I had my track metrics here. I did have this on, but then I did turn them off because I have a separate spreadsheet for those. So use what works for you. You don't have to use what doesn't work for you. Now let's get to the fun part, and that is logging the nutrition. So today I already know because I have my water split up into three 40-ounce containers. I already know that's a lock. So I'm going to go ahead and put my gallon in there. Now, for breakfast, you can copy a meal that you've had before. You can just go ahead and search. So let's say, you had, and you can see it has a history for me here, but you have large eggs and it should populate some different choices. Select from the list. If it doesn't end up being correct or what you think to be correct, then you can always choose something different. Yes, this is correct. Large egg, 70 calories. It will give me carbs, fat, and protein. Now, once you have built a history in here, it becomes very easy to just copy a previous meal. And so again, I have some strength training goals right now. So you can see these are going to be larger portions, but I have my coffee, my stevia. I had an egg with a half cup of liquid egg whites, my tablespoon of creamer, and looks like I did a third cup of oatmeal this day, half cup of blackberries, and Kroger sugar-free syrup. So if I just copy that, I don't have to enter those items one by one by one. And yes, even with that many entries, look, I mean, I'm still right around 300 calories, 36 carbs, 9 fat, 22 protein. So that's a decent start. And then here you do have a number of entries. You can skip these, you can log them. This is usually where I will log my tea. So all of my history would come up. I haven't had morning tea in a while, so it's not coming up. But here's the other awesome piece with this. So for my lunch meal, if it's not something that I've entered before, or let's say that I have a recipe that I found elsewhere, this is super cool. I'm not going to officially add it to the meal because I don't want to enter an incorrect item. But let's just say that I did Jody's favorite chicken burrito. Whoops. There we go. That's better. One burrito. And I got the recipe elsewhere and I had one burrito. So let's say this is 380 calories. Maybe the fat grams were, I don't know, 12. Sodium. If I'm estimating, I'm going to estimate a little higher because I know that that bread is going to be a little higher in sodium. So this is a guesstimate. Honestly, it's a guesstimate. If your recipe provides it, great. It'll still be probably close, but not spot on. I'm going to guesstimate, let's just say the carbs were 38 and the protein was 27. But you can enter those in from a recipe, and that is pretty cool because that's a premium feature in some other apps, but it is free here. And so by the end of the day, let me just pop in a few more meals in here that I've had in the past. I had a yogurt parfait one day. Let's just put that in there. Afternoon snack. That was a light lunch. So we're going to put in a heftier snack. Let's see what I had. This is oh boy, I don't have much of a history there, but we'll choose that one. And then dinner. I'm just randomly picking some meals. So this is a taco salad that I make that I love. And evening snack. pretty sure I've had a Ninja Creamy recently. Not sure if that's going to pop in here, but I do have protein cereal, so we'll just grab that. That's with the core power. Oops, and I copied that twice. So that's okay. Easy fix. We just delete those two items and check this out. So far, and I will say it's always better if you plan ahead, if you're actually trying to hit the targets. But if you're just trying to assess where you are, this will give you your totals. With me just randomly selecting meals, my calories are under, my carbs are spot on, my fats are under, my protein is actually over if I were to follow through with this day. And that's all right. So this actually did give me a letter grade of excellent. I wished it hadn't, but because I'd like to see some more reasons. But you can see this breakdown where carbohydrates, fat, sodium, pretty much on target. It says, I would say that I'd like to adjust the fat a bit more because that came in low. But where is the room for improvement? Oh, there it is at the end of the day. So here's what happened. It looks like throughout the day, my total fat percentage was right on target. And then later in the day, it did decrease a bit. So you'll get some good ideas in here of what you might switch. Um, and then you can always add notes about your day in this section too. Yep. Felt tired, uh, went to bed hungry, but exhausted. And this is nice because I wouldn't necessarily consider it a symptoms log, but if you want to start trying to make some ties between your nutrition and how you're feeling, this is not a bad place to do it. So you can always add that note there. All right, I will quickly go over exercise. I personally do not take the time to enter in my exercises here. That's just too tedious, and I have a separate notebook for that. But I do often start my day with treadmill with just light incline. And let's say that I did 30 minutes today. I can easily change that. And boom, there you go. And I don't typically do cardio and strength on the same day, but I know that I am going to be hitting the gym for my 100 minutes of hard workout close. So why is this important? Because at the end of the day, you're going to see some net calories. This says 669. I know that I need more nutrition to recover better from that workout. So yes, would I, let's assume I'm trying to lose fat. Would I like for this deficit maybe to be a little less because I want to make sure I'm still recovering from my workouts? Those would be a couple tools to consider. All right. So now that you have set up your account, you've logged your first foods, your next step is going to be logging at least one day of eating, breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, so that you can start seeing patterns and trends. And I don't want you to worry about perfection. The tool here is really to build awareness and help guide your choices. So logging is not forever, but for a short period of time, it is helpful as we get a handle on consistency and implementing some of the choices that are going to support your goals a bit better, perhaps improving quality of food choices, but keep tracking and we will build from there.